Hello, welcome to Moving People in Action. I'm your host, Tim Clark. Just a little bit, I want to start off talking a little bit about really the philosophy and what we're going to spend about an hour focusing on. And really, this whole notion, moving people to action, short for MP to action. You can find us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. But this is all about listening, discussing, learning, and which will hopefully cause people to move to action. As we know, really right now, there's so many issues and opportunities out there. And moving people to action was born about 3 years ago, really out of COVID-19 when folks were staying at home and everybody pretty much had to pivot. And we had to pivot and go online and do things from your home. And so we wanted to create a social media platform that would cause people to engage, to conversate, but also learn about the issues and the topics, and most of all, get people to move to action. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to focus on health and wellness. Health is so important. I think it's the foundation of really how we get up and how we get out and how we get started. We must focus on self. You know, often hear me say in terms of just like every time you are on an airplane, they say, hey, before you try to help anybody else, put your mask on first. And that's really that health focus is about helping people that are tuning in to MP to action, moving people to action, to get your health game on. Focus on awareness and educating yourself about how do you make a better you. For me, in the last 7 years, I'm just like so many of you out there. I've been dealing with so many comorbidities and preconditions, and I have no shame in talking about some of my health challenges, from hypertension, diabetes, glaucoma. I have a heart condition, and so it really forces me to be more intentional and mindful about my health. And as I share some of my challenges, you never know how it's going to ignite other people to jump in and be a little bit more cognizant of what they need to do to really start focusing on better health. And so I'm a prostate cancer survivor. It's been over coming up on 4 years now where I had my prostate removed. And those are ongoing challenges. And we will have some fearless conversations about prostate, and particularly African American males, and some of the things that really you may have questions about, but you're willing to ask. And we're gonna ask it for you, and hopefully we're gonna provide some answers for you in terms of things that you can do to be proactive. And what about when you have an enlarged prostate? What should you do if a doctor say, hey, it appears you have prostate cancer? What are some of your options? And same with colon cancer, same with hypertension, all these different challenges that we're having health wise. We must be willing to have fearless conversations about. Another area that I want to focus on is education. And education is really, I think, is the key to open up a world that of discovery. And my guest joining me after our break, we're going to be having a subject matter expert, Clarice Jackson. It's going to be coming to talk about literacy and really how that affects so many people, and more importantly, what are we going to do about it? once we learn and understand the numbers and how it's affecting really African Americans in a large proportion, what are we going to do about it? So education is key. Education is key. Then we're going to focus on business, economic development, and empowerment. And business, my good friend George Fraser said, hey, we spent 100 years in slavery, 100 years in civil rights movement. We're in that 100 years of economics. Black folks, we have to focus and get the economics right. When you think about all that we've been through, it is time that we begin to talk and spend time on wealth creation. And what does that look like? What's the fundamental elements of wealth creation? So we will bring some subject matter experts on to talk about wealth creation. We'll localize it, but also we'll bring in national folks as well to help shine the light on economic empowerment and economic development. Small business with a focus on small business. A good friend of mine, she once said, in terms of just when you think about commerce, there's no commerce unless there's an exchange of dollars. And so we really have to look at how do we look at a inside out approach if we're really going to look at building our communities and empowering our people. It must start within, and it must start with the person, with one person at a time, one family at a time, one community at a time. But we have to be willing to do for self. What we're asking others to do for us, we must be willing to do 10 times. And so we will not get there unless we look at turning inward in terms of just those challenges. Also, we're going to focus on legislation, bills. We're a country really governed by laws and policies. And so civic responsibility is key, that we activate as many people as possible to get in the game when it comes to civic responsibility. We're seeing now, I can do a whole show on what's happening nationally with so much disruptions and distractions and so much disrespect of our Constitution. That only happens when people allow it to happen. We're a government for the people and by the people. And we must choose to do something about it when people are not falling in to what we need them to do, especially in terms of just what we elected them to do. Civic responsibility is important. Here in Nebraska, the largest city in Nebraska, Omaha, we just elected our first African-American mayor, Mayor John Ewing. He's been really doing that whole thing, civic responsibility, pretty much all his life, at least half of his life. Police officer for over 25 years and public service. So those are some of the things that we're going to focus on: civic responsibility, health, education, business, and we want to be able to give you right now information that hopefully will cause you to move to action. There again, Tim Clark. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, joining me will be Clarice Jackson, and we're going to do a deep dive in the area of literacy and talk about really some of the things some of the barriers and solutions and the work that's being done to make it better, not only here in Omaha, but the state of Nebraska, and some of the things that's happening nationally. So stay with me. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Moving People to Action, where we listen, we learn, and hopefully we cause people to move. Welcome, Grace.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you for having me as your guest.
Yes, I tell you, we also, I just want to full disclosure, I've been knowing you for a long time, but
Yes.
most recently, we're both commissioners for
Yes.
the African American Affairs Commission. So we share that responsibility. But I really responsibility. But what really excited me about you coming on the show, really to hear you talk about your passion and your love and commitment to literacy. As I talked about, education is a focal point for MP to action, moving people to action. So let's start off by just give us your backstory in terms of just why literacy, why this as your stick in terms of that you feel that you need to wake up every day and focus on this.
I'll try to make it very short, but
Okay.
it's kind of threefold. The first thing is that growing up as a kid, I was always drawn to education and
Okay.
teaching. My father taught in the Omaha Public School system for about 34 years. He taught at McMillan Junior High, Alonzo James Littlejohn, and so Mr. Littlejohn, he was
Okay.
affectionately known. So I grew up in a teacher household. That passion spread out to me, getting the neighborhood kids because we lived like in a townhome type environment.
So your home was a neighborhood home.
Yes, yes, yes.
Flexible.
So I would go and round up all the kids and bring them to my front porch, and I would literally teach them and get them ready for school
Wow.
at the age of 9, 10, 11, and 12. So that was the root. I believe that was a God thing. God already put that inside of me. And then when I turned 19, as I was going to college, I was working at Mount View Elementary School.
Okay.
And I was a Title I reading and math paraprofessional. And a young little girl walked into my classroom and she changed my life forever. That young little girl's name is Letitia Fox, and that became my daughter. I was not her biological mother, but through our chance encounter that God orchestrated, I began to spend time with her. At that time, her mother was incarcerated. She lived with her grandmother. But Letitia made it to the second grade and was unable to read, and no one knew why. No
She
one
made it to the second grade and was not able to read.
yes, and no one knew why didn't understand why she couldn't.
Did they understand how she made it to the second grade?
Oh, yes, yes, they understood that. And it's still the same thing that happens today. It's called social promotion. So there isn't a law here in the state of Nebraska that mandates that if you,
Social
it's
promotion.
called social promotion. And if you, they don't mandate that you be held back if you can't read. Some states do have that. I think Florida, with Jeb Bush, I think that they have a third grade retention law. Now, retention does not always work because if you retain someone and you give them more of the same,
Yeah.
it's not going to help.
Must
So you have to
be
be
different.
yeah, you have to be careful with
Right.
retention law. So she was socially promoted from grade to grade, and everybody was aware. Every teacher knew, the principal knew, but no one understood that she had dyslexia because it was not talked about back then. We're talking about in 1999. Although dyslexia has been known for the majority of my life.
I mean, because you hear that term. Break that down in terms of just the
So dyslexia is the most common learning disability. Okay, for reading, writing, and spelling. And dyslexia is a neurobiological condition. That means that you most definitely have it from birth. It's hereditary. It runs in families. It has to do with word reading difficulty, fluency, phonemic awareness, lacking phonemic awareness, and it's a language-based processing disorder. So most children who have dyslexia, it it shows up in the slow, choppy, inaccurate reading. They might have to read something two, three, four times before they understand it or get it. They have reading comprehension issues. Spelling is one key issue with those who have dyslexia and a key indicator of it. So a lot of times in this social media world, I would say people are looking at people's writing as they're posting posts on Instagram or Facebook, and they're saying, why are they writing like that? But spelling is an indicator that dyslexia is a characteristic. And so they should be screened if they have three or more of these characteristics. So up to 20% of the population is dyslexic. That means 1 in 5.
Yeah. Wow.
1 in 5 people,
Wow.
children and adults.
Wow. So backstory in terms of just it seems like, Clarice, with your father being principal and you at an early age taking on this this school teacher a mindset in terms of your friends and the kids in the neighborhood. Fast forward, you're here now, and it seems like you've carried that foundational experience from childhood to what you're doing now.
Yes, I carried it from childhood to motherhood because I ended up becoming the legal guardian of Letitia when she was 9, and that began my journey of understanding that the school systems, all of them across the nation, not just here,
Right.
they were lacking in how to teach reading, specifically those children who struggle with dyslexia. So I never even heard the term dyslexia at the school system. So after I stopped working at Mount View Elementary School, I became Letitia's mother at 9, and she moved in with me. And so then began our journey of discovering what was the cause of why she could not read, write, or spell appropriately. There was nothing cognitively wrong with her. So she had above average IQ. So it was very frustrating for me as a parent. And it was also very debilitating for her as a child struggling with that. She had the peers and the bullying that comes with that. Letitia doesn't know how to read. So she would hit herself in the head and say, I'm stupid, I'm stupid, I'm stupid. And as a mother, homework was laborious. I mean, it took hours and hours and the crying and all of that. And so I began to research and try to figure out what it was. And I discovered a word named dyslexia. And I began to research that. And I said, this describes my daughter. No one has ever told me this. So then she and I went to a private school here in Omaha, Nebraska. And full disclosure, I'm on their board now because I believe in the school. It's called the Phoenix Academy.
Okay.
And it's a school that said, have you tried everything to teach your kid to read? Have you been in the public school to no avail and yada, yada.
Right.
And they said, come to our school. And they use a multisensory program, which is what we call structured literacy, which is the moonshot for Omaha Public Schools, and Matt Ray is the new superintendent. That they're going to convert all of their staff and the training and the curriculum to a more structured literacy approach, because that is the most effective way to teach children to read, whether they have dyslexia or not.
It's the most effective way. And it seems to me that the superintendent, Matt Ray, is focusing on really that being a number one or a priority in terms of reading.
Yes, he said that's the moonshot for OPS. I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah. No. So there's a lot of folks out there, parents and probably students and individuals. And you talked a little bit about some of the indicators as far as just, misspelling words,
It's a slow,
choppy,
inaccurate
reading.
Takes hours. Some other characteristics would be you'll notice this in those that are in the elementary grades. They have trouble tying their shoes. It takes a long time for them to figure that out. That can be a sign. Messy rooms. That could be a sign, literally, of dyslexia. Also, the inability to sound out words. Not knowing the difference in homonyms, antonyms, and synonyms. That's bad. Nonsense words are hard for them, and also the ability to just process. what is being read to them
Yeah.
and what they're trying to read.
Yeah. When you think, you said 20%
Mhm.
of really folks, 1 out of every 5.
Yeah, that's 20% of the
Yeah,
population.
that's huge. When you think about really just literacy,
Mhm.
particularly African Americans, talk a little bit about some of the challenges there and what is the state of literacy for African Americans in this country.
I'm glad
And
you.
and we can drill down to Nebraska too, but let's yeah.
I'm glad you asked. So in 2020, I formalized and trademarked Black Literacy Matters because in my professional discovery, I noticed a key trend that our literacy rates, which are basic or advanced, are about 80 to 90% of Black students in the nation are unable to read above basic standards. So they're below basic in reading.
Did you say what's that percentage again?
80 to 90% in every state, not just Nebraska, the nation, for Black students are below basic in reading.
Wow. Now
Below
that
grade
is
level
alarming.
in reading. Yes.
When you think about that, that's a health crisis. That's an epidemic
You're speaking my
that we
language.
really should be like stop the press.
Yes.
What's our intervention strategies? And so, if it's that high,
Yes.
why I'm just now hearing that number? Why are we so quiet about it?
There's a number of different reasons why that's being quiet, but it's troubling because it goes back to post antebellum times and slavery, when anti-literacy slave codes were erected, and that happened out of Virginia, unfortunately. So the Black Literacy Matters Conference will be in its 3rd year.
Okay.
March of 2026, so March 11th through the 14th specifically, and we are heading to Norfolk State University, which is a historically Black college and university.
Okay.
Because we're symbolically going back there to spiritually uproot that spirit that is still present and known within every state with Black students. We are still having 10 to 17% of Black students in every state who are only proficient. Those are the scores we had coming out of slavery.
That's unacceptable.
It is unacceptable. But here's the good part about it. It is unacceptable. But one thing about Black people, and I got to look in the camera and say that.
Oh, yeah.
One thing about us, we are resilient people.
That's right.
And we are the only race in history to reduce our illiteracy rate from almost 100% to below 30% in a 30-year time frame. Wow. And when we talk about that, I say that to say that when we're talking about, well, why are these literacy rates this bad? And what do we do? You hear lots of time, well, it's poverty, it's trauma, and all of those things make, have a play in that.
Low expectation.
Exactly.
The list goes on and on.
Exactly. However, name a time in history for Black people where we weren't the most traumatized. Slavery. We were raped, we were pillaged,
That's right.
We were used, we were building, and we were out in those fields, and we were building homes and all of that. So trauma was there.
Yeah.
Poverty, extreme poverty was there. We had literacy laws that said if you teach a Black person to read, you can get hung, beaten, or killed, or jailed.
Yeah.
And with all of that, we still were able to reduce our illiteracy rate. And so if we could
still rise.
Exactly.
That's right.
And if we could do that then, in those times, with all of that, we can eradicate the illiteracy gap for Black people.
Yeah.
And so that's my aim and my goal.
Yeah. So what we're going to do, I like that, because still we rise.
Yes.
Maya Angelou,
yes.
We can eradicate that. So we're going to take a break, Clarice. After we come back, I want you to focus on what are some of the actionable things that people can do to get involved and support your organization. So we'll give you a website. We're going to focus this next segment on action, moving people to action. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to give you some actionable items in which you can engage in and get involved in as it relates to eliminating, eradicating really literacy and the folks that cannot read. How do we improve that? Stay with me. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Moving People to Action. I'm your host, Tim Clark. My guest is Clarice Jackson. Thank you so much for taking the time. This is so important, really, to do a deep dive in terms of the issue of literacy. And one of the things we talked about, we talked about some of the challenges and some of the problems too, but I look at problems as opportunity.
Yes.
And so opportunity to do what? Move to action. So let's spend a little time, Clarice, talking about what can parents, what can students, what can community, what can we, legislators, politicians, what can we do about it?
Well, I think one key thing to do, especially with the literacy rates of Black students nationwide, is we need to have a tailored campaign, and maybe legislation that's tailored toward Black literacy rates or African American rates, whatever you want to call it. I know we're in a very polarized political environment right now, where race is something that people are kind of nervous about.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they are historically marginalized. And you can give it whatever name you want as long as we address the issue. And I think we need to do that. We need to ensure that teachers are armed with the tools they need, because that's number one.
Yeah.
The teachers, outside of parents, are the front line defense to eradicate this.
And you did say outside of parents, because I was going to say literacy starts at home.
It does. It does.
That's day one.
It does. However, what I have found also is that, specifically when we talk about dyslexia and or literacy, because a lot of people don't know that it's dyslexia. So they don't understand that. So when we're telling parents, read to your kids, some of these parents can't read. And so when we're asking them to do something they can't do, that makes it a little difficult. So just like when we go to the doctor, we don't go to the doctor and the doctor says, well, parents, is your job to make sure. No, they prescribe the prescriptions to you, and then the parent has to make sure they follow that prescription.
That's right.
So they have to work hand in hand. Exactly. They do play a very vital role. So they need to be involved. The teachers need to be educated, which is one of the things we're seeing around here in the state of Nebraska. I'm on the Nebraska Department of Education Literacy Advisory Panel. And so they got a huge comprehensive literacy plan grant. And so they're working with all of the school districts to improve and educate the teachers.
No. Hopefully part of that money can be used in terms of discovery, because like you said, sometimes you don't even know.
You don't
And I think part of it is, and I think we had an offline conversation about, we have all these national and local mentoring organizations like Teammate, the 100 Black Men, Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
Yes.
You have an adult in front of a young person. And I know with me and my mentees, that's one of the discoveries that I try to say, hey, and create a safe environment, Clarice, where I can have the question, ask the question, are you having any challenges with reading? What challenge? And so we can together solve that problem. But what an opportunity for mentors to engage with their mentees.
Absolutely. I've had those conversations lately, and one of the things, and so coming out of this is going to be a partnership, an initiative to increase reading with mentorship. I mean, the governor is on board with that, so he's got the reading mentoring grant that's out there, and Teammates is really huge in that. But the one thing that I'm stressing to them, though, is mentorship. What it has looked like thus far is them reading to someone like their mentee.
Right.
But we need to make sure that the mentee
can read. That's my point. That's right.
Right?
Let them read.
Because literacy intersects with everything we do in life. And if they cannot read, that impacts poverty, teen pregnancy, economic status, health care, all of that.
Quality of life.
Yes.
Right on.
Absolutely.
So you're out here doing this work, heavy lifting. How can people help? Give me a website, and I know you're going to be you're a keynote speaker, speaking at a national conference in Ghana coming up.
Ghana and Kenya.
Ooh, look at you! Look at you! I was gonna say that I do got a car. I can pop it.
Pop your collar, yeah.
I'm for you because that is awesome that you're getting the recognition, and you're really creating avenues to spread and increase the awareness. I was in Ghana recently. Yeah, that was a good segue. I got a little Ghana, my Ghana beads on, some tiger eye.
Yes.
I want to go to Ghana with you.
Yes.
But talk about, so give me a website. How can people help you?
BlackLiteracyMatters.org. That's one of the websites. BlackLiteracyMatters.org.
We'll put that on the screen too. Yeah.
And the other one is VoiceAdvocacyCenter.org. Voice Advocacy Center is the first in the state of Nebraska of its kind, dyslexia specific tutoring center. We cover all things dyslexia screening. We have structured literacy tutoring, which is 101. This will work for people who have dyslexia and people who don't.
Okay.
And so that's one key thing. Children need to be taught explicitly how to read, write, and spell. There is an English code, and there's a way in which you teach it. And all children need that.
Wow.
And our center does that, along with our Black Literacy Matters Institute for Black Literacy.
Right on. So part two, how can people help? Can they write a check?
Definitely.
Volunteer? What's some things?
We are always looking for funding to help fund our tutors and our program to keep this going, especially with the rates that we told you that are across the nation. But here specifically in Nebraska, approximately 80% of Black students in Nebraska are
That's
below
still hard
basic.
to believe.
Look it up for yourself. National Assessments of Educational Progress, which is a national database that is used nationally. Those are the scores. And so when we talk about the school to prison pipeline, and we talk about DCYC, who I have a partnership with, and we've got a memorandum of understanding to help them as well. Most of those kids are 11th and 12th grade, 9th grade, and they're reading on 1st and 2nd grade level. And we wonder why.
That right there.
We wonder why that they're all getting pushed in or going into gangs or doing different things. If they don't believe that they can do anything any better because they believe that they are incapable of learning because they struggle to read, write, and spell, that's why you see the numbers, and that's why you see the youth crime that we see.
And, from this conversation, Clarice, what I'm hearing is that does not have to be.
Absolutely not.
We can do something about that.
We can do something about that. And I have studied, and the research shows that if you teach someone who is functionally illiterate, which means they're below basic in reading, and or dyslexic, that you reduce the recidivism rate for them to return to youth detention center or an adult prison from 70% to 17%.
Come on now.
Just by teaching them to read. Why are we not doing this on a larger scale?
That just sounds too common sense.
It's very common sense. And not that I don't disagree with taking care of animals, but when you look at the Omaha Gives Day and all of that, when we're spending almost $100 million on the animal shelter and little to none on literacy, there's a problem.
Yeah. And I love my dog.
Me too.
I love my dog.
Me too. Like I said, no pun to the animals.
That's right. But I tell you, why can't we do both?
Exactly.
Why can't we do both?
Exactly. And at least level it out some.
That's right. I agree. Well, is there anything? Let's say you got 60 seconds, Clarice.
Put time on it.
Tell us something. Leave us something that people can take with them and just kind of take a hold and really move to action on. Just give us something. Give us something profound.
I just think that, just sit down if you're your parent, sit down with your kids, whether you have a struggle with reading as well. I think just having that conversation with them. How is school? How was school since it's the summertime? How did you feel about reading? Was it hard for you? Did you struggle? And then if you are a parent that struggles as well, you share what you experienced, and then take action by reaching out to Voice Advocacy Center at voiceadvocacycenter.org or 402-431-2574. And let's get that conversation started so that we can help you as you navigate the school system to see if what your daughter or your son is dealing with is dyslexia or it's basic reading instruction issues, so that we can get them on the path to reading, writing, and spelling.
Man, thank you so much, Clarice, for what you do to make a difference in the lives of so many families and individuals. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me
Right
on
on.
your first podcast after,
Right.
was
Yeah.
it after
After
COVID?
COVID.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. So thank
absolutely.
you. I'm
Right on.
honored.
Hey, thank you. And this was very meaningful to me because as a kid growing up, I struggled with reading and the fear.
Yeah.
If I think about it, I'll probably just start sweating, you know? I mean, it was just amazing, the fear
Yeah.
of having a teacher call on you and say, "Hey, Tim, read this or read
Ooh,
that."
have you ever been screened for dyslexia? Because
I
most of
have
the
not. I
brightest
probably,
people,
yeah,
Steve Jobs, the iPhone creator,
yeah.
he was dyslexic.
Wow.
Oprah
I haven't
Winfrey,
been screened,
Whoopi,
but I
Whoopi
probably
Goldberg. All of them.
it seemed like I had some of those symptoms.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
because I tell you, it was just one of the most scariest things that I've ever experienced in terms of just being called on to read.
Do you know
Yeah.
who said that just recently to me?
Ooh,
Ben Gray.
wow.
And he was okay with me sharing it.
Okay.
But he said, Clarice, I didn't know about dyslexia until I heard you talk about it many, many years ago.
Man.
And he said, and I realized that was me.
Yeah.
And he said, so
Well,
I
I have
thank
to
you.
say, dang, that probably was me too. Yeah, yeah. So hey,
That,
yeah. Wow, I'm sweating.
I'm
Oh my
like, I'm
God.
about to, that makes me want to cry.
Yo,
Like,
give me a tissue or something.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
like a
Yeah.
Michael Jackson moment or something.
yeah.
But hey, thanks again. Man,
you.
that's all for this episode of Moving People to Action. Thank you for tuning in. And we'll be right back at you next week, hopefully every week, with some meaningful conversations that will cause you to listen, learn, and to move to action. I'm your host, Tim Clark. Until next time, be good to yourself.